Hi everyone, Patrick here. So in today's, it has been a while since I do a conversation with authors, but of course today we have someone very special, not only to me, but in my opinion, also to the fantasy genre, because today we have John Gwynne. Yeah, John Gwynne, the author behind The Faithful and the Fallen of Blood and Bone trilogy, and soon, the soon to be completed Bloodsworn Saga. So John, welcome to my channel. It has been a while, right?
Oh, thanks so much, Patrick. It's lovely to be here, and it's great to be chatting to you. I feel like we've known each other for a long time, so it's always good to talk to you.
Yeah, I know. It's really for those of you who don't know, I've read Malice, I think in 2016 or 2017, and yeah, I've known John for 8 years now. 8 years, John.
My beard's gone grey in that time, I think, Patrick.
Hopefully, mine hasn't. Thankfully, but yeah, it has been a long time, and it has been really surreal seeing how far you came in your writing career, John. And what do you feel? How do you feel about all of this? I mean, back then when The Faithful and the Fallen came out, I think your popularity hasn't been as big as it is now.
I mean, it feels surreal, Patrick. It really does. It's every day I pinch myself. Really, to be able to write and make a living from it. It's a dream come true, really. From day one, when my agent took me on and then got a deal, it's just really been fairy tale land. So it's wonderful and
Mhm.
really surreal. You're right, because the Bloodsworn saga just seems to have connected with so many people in so many different ways, which is really lovely to see.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, I
it's,
bet.
it's fabulous.
And you are the kind of person who write with passion. I mean, I can definitely see that in The Faithful and the Fallen of Blood and Bone trilogy and also Bloodsworn Saga. What do you think that separates this the most? What separates Bloodsworn Saga the most with the Banished Land Saga?
Um, well, the Bloodsworn saga has definitely got a much tighter kind of Norse
Mm,
focus than the
mm,
Faithful and the Fallen. There were some Norse influences in the Faithful and the Fallen, more so as you go through the books. It started off with a very kind of Celtic focus and kind of Greco-Roman, Celtic and Greco-Roman. And Norse crept in the further into the books you get, but the Bloodsworn saga is 100% inspired by Norse mythology, Viking era history. So it's got a very different feel, and I think I tried to give the books a different feel because of that. I tried to capture something of what I felt when I read things like the Icelandic sagas and the
mm.
poetic Edda. Something of that kind of that bleakness that you get in Norse mythology, but also that kind of a pragmatic sense of humour.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it feels it's a little different in tone. It's probably a little bit darker than the Faithful
Yeah,
and the Fallen as well. Yeah.
but But even though Bloodsworn Saga is darker, I think the themes, the one that you always portray in your books, they remain intact, such as the importance of family, love, and all that. And we probably already know that what happened to you have been so devastating in the past 3 years ago. It has been 3 years, Jan.
Yeah, it has, Patrick. Yeah, I can't believe it's 3 years. Just over. Yeah.
Wow,
Thank
wow.
you. Yeah, I mean, losing my daughter is just sorry, there's just no
Huh?
words. It's
Yeah.
unimaginable.
It
And
it must
it's
it must
sorry.
have been it must have been so difficult though for you to write this book then, The Fury of the Gods.
Oh, hugely difficult. I mean, well, when Harriet died, we just it's like a hand grenade going off in your world, and we just all of us, myself, my wife Caroline, and my three sons, James, Ed, and Will, we just kind of retreated from the world, and just held each other. Really tried to hold each other up and get through one day at a time. Just loving each other and coping with our pain, which was unimaginable, and it still is. Grief is it's not something that you go through and come out the other end.
Oh, okay.
It's something that you kind of, I mean, that's kind of how I viewed it before losing Harriet, but doesn't work like that for us.
It stays.
It's something that we've learned to live with. You learn to live with the pain, and it's there all the time. There's kind of it's giant.
Yeah.
It's like ocean waves. It's there all the time, lapping away. And everything is different now without Harriet.
Yeah. Do you think
we miss her so much?
Yeah, I bet. I miss Harriet. I feel like your love and also your brother's Gwynne love for Harriet, I mean, they all can be seen. Even just from online, it can be seen. And I can only imagine how it must feel in person.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. Yeah. She was so loved.
Yeah. Think she would have been proud of you, though, for completing this book.
I hope so. I mean, when I didn't write, so I finished writing The Hunger of the Gods must have been April 21 when I
April 21. Okay.
And then I went through the edits with that, and it was all done by the summer, kind of
Summer.
midsummer. And then Harriet died in September of 21.
Oh wow!
And then everything stopped, And I couldn't really function for a long time. I stopped reading anything, stopped watching TV, listening to music. It all just stopped. But you kind of start to find reasons for getting up every day, and really, it's family and friends that keep you going. And then you start to see the odd ray of sunshine here and there. And you learn to smile again occasionally, which is nice. And so my publishers and Julie, my agent, were fantastic. They put no pressure on me for Fury of the Gods at all.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. They were really so supportive. And as were you and my readers, all the people that I've met through social media. I had just so many kind, loving messages from you all. Really, it was really heartwarming. Helped to keep us going, I think. Mm-hmm. But I thought I got to the end of last year. I thought I really, I'm starting to feel like maybe I could try to write again.
Wow, last year? Just last year?
So just the end of last year, kind of around November time. And so I thought I'll have a go. But I was really worried because that's almost, that was 2.5 years since I'd written a word, and I feel like a different person now. So I did have some anxiety about sitting down to write. I thought, how is it going to come out? But once I kind of sat at my desk and started, it just poured out of me, really, Patrick. It was it's cathartic in a way. It's very intense. It's really intense. But I wrote in a way for very long periods. So I'd kind of get out here and start writing when it was dark, and I wouldn't finish until it was dark. And I don't usually write like that. But so it's probably the fastest book I've ever written.
Yeah, I mean, November and today is October. That's only a few months for you to finish the book. That's insane.
Yeah. No, I finished it in beginning of April.
6 months. Amazing, John.
So thank you. Yeah. So but hopefully it's come out well. I hope so. I feel like I've got a new understanding of kind of the human experience, and hopefully that will be in there. Obviously, I write to entertain, and I hope that it entertains people and takes people to another world.
Yeah.
And helps people to be immersed in a story and feel the emotions, But I hope that there's kind of layers to it as well, so that maybe my understanding of grief might come through a little bit deeper in this one as well. It's impossible to tell when you're a writer. You write it and you just hope for the best. So I hope these things, but I'll have to wait and see what all you guys think of it.
Yeah. I think from early receptions, many have mentioned they loved it very much, so that's good. I haven't read it. This book just came, John. Today, just came.
It did. Well, I hope you enjoy it when you do read it, Patrick.
Yeah, I think I will. I will probably read this next month. I will let you know. I think you know my thoughts about your final book, so you know that I will most likely love this one.
Yes, well, I can. It's not a spoiler to say there's a very big battle at the end. So
Yeah. You are good at that, John.
thank you.
Yeah. So I think with all this stuff, I think you must be feeling like a different person than before it all happened.
Yes, yeah, very
Mm.
much. In just in many ways, you view life differently. You value every moment differently. We want to really make sure that people that are close to you know how you feel about them, because who knows what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, Lady Maya said, best book of the year for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And with the Fury of the Gods, before with the most non-spoiler way possible, what do you think fans of the Bloodsworn Saga can expect from it?
Well, I'd say more, I suppose. What I try to do with my books is to do an escalation from book 1 to book 2 to book 3. So
Mm.
hopefully you'll see an escalation in kind of the stakes, escalation of the drama, of the character choices, of the conflict, and then hopefully you'll see it, coming together where the threads. Well, one of the things I like to do with multiple point of view stories is to kind of interweave the characters. So they'll have almost separate stories, but they'll cross paths and then they'll separate again. And I always enjoy it when they come together at the end and kind of stay together until it's all done. And that's one of the things that you'll see in the Fury. All the character threads coming together, and until it's kind of last man standing scenario.
And do you think, probably not a spoiler here, and I've been curious about this as well, but someone has mentioned, will you move from Vikings after this series?
I mean, that's a good question. I can't talk too much about my next project because I'm talking to my agent and publishers about it.
Yeah.
And but so the answer is yes and no. It's going to be moving a little bit away from Vikings, but there is an element of Viking history in it. I'm always inspired by, for all my books and my series and my projects, I'm inspired by mythology and history, and so yeah, as I said, The Faithful and the Fallen, that was inspired by kind of Iron Age Europe, Boudicca's revolt, Caesar's Gallic War, and Celtic mythology. And for the Bloodsworn Saga, it was very much Norse mythology and Viking era history. So the next project will be inspired by kind of a world mythology and a historical period, and it is kind of there's a touch of Vikings in it, so it's not a massive step away from.
Okay. Wow.
It is a step away, but not something completely different. No.
And do you think? Sorry. Go ahead.
I can't say too much more about it. The other thing is that it's inspired by Harriet, my daughter, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't really say too much more than that at the moment.
Yeah. No worries. This is more than good enough. And Philip Chase here say that telling people you love them is the greatest wisdom. I agree, man.
Philip's a good man.
Oh, he is a great friend as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Congratulations on a beautiful. Oh yeah, At has a daughter.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, she's beautiful. Her name's Iris Harriet, which was, just such a beautiful name. She is just such a beautiful soul. She's lovely.
Do you think the appearance of Iris helped kind of heal your family about the situation?
Definitely, yeah. She's really she's helped us find our smile.
Okay.
Yeah.
The birth of Iris, it makes me happy, but at the same time, it makes me super old, man. like, like I knew Edward and Will when they were still so small somehow, and now they have a kid.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it?
Oh my god! But seriously, I'm happy for all of you, brother Gwynne included. Got me crying, guys.
Thank you, Pedro.
Yeah. And this is a good question. Will there be more stories set in the Bloodsworn Saga? Well, not only Bloodsworn Saga, but I think Banished Land Saga is a good question as well. Will you return to these worlds that you have finished, or that's it? It's all done.
I would never say never to either the Banished Lands or to the Bloodsworn. I write them so that hopefully you feel like they're a snapshot of the history of that world. So you know, there are lots of stories in my head that could take place as prequels, as sequels for you know, maybe as standalone novels or novellas, and the same with the Bloodsworn. It's just really, it's down to time. If I get the time to write them, I will write them. So it's just finding the time, yeah. But I do have ideas of stories that could be interesting, you know, set in the Banished Lands and set in the world of the Bloodsworn as well.
Oh.
So I can't promise that they will ever get to the page, but I hope so, because they're in my head.
Okay. That's more than enough for me. Wow, that sounds awesome though. I always loved the world of Banished Land, also Vigrid. So if we can get more, I'm not complaining.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. I would love your next project to be something on the scale of The Faithful and the Fallen. I would imagine that it would be a large undertaking, but it's my favorite series of all time for a reason. So what do you think about that? Do you think the scope will be as big?
I don't know. I mean, I look back on that and think, was I insane when I started? Because I mean, I'd never written anything before Malice. You know, it's my first go at writing, and I just jumped into something started off with 8 POVs and ended with, I think, 13 POVs in Wrath. Something.
Yeah,
like
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, so and it makes your brain ache making sure that threads can keep moving together. But you know, I mean, I do like that it was a big world with lots of characters. So I would like to do something like that again, but I don't think it would be my next project.
Mm-hmm. And you have that really brings me to my next point. You have written so many characters, John. I mean, across Banished Land, across Bloodsworn, that's, I don't know, more than hundreds of characters for sure. Do you think you can pin some favorites that you have, the POV characters that you wrote?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard because, you know, it's like you don't have favorite children, but there are characters you really enjoy writing. I mean, from The Faithful and the Fallen, I really enjoyed writing Matt Gwynne.
Matt Gwynne, yeah.
Well, his name is pronounced differently. It's hard with these old languages, but I always pronounced his name Matt Gwynne, but some people call him Makeen.
Matt Gwynne?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I really enjoyed writing him. The old wolf was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And some of the side characters as well in The Faithful and the Fallen I really enjoyed. Brinna and Gar, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And Kraft, of course.
Kraft. It's like Kraft is everywhere.
Yeah, that cheeky crow, yeah. And obviously Orca, she was just great to write. You know, once I felt like I knew her, it took me a little while writing the Bloodsworn before I really felt like I kind of got to know her properly and kind of had her voice nailed down. I wrote it when I wrote the Shadow of the Gods. Probably the first third, I went back and rewrote a lot of Orca's scenes because I'd had her. She was talking too much. She was vocalizing a lot and kind of explaining scenarios and I got to a point where I thought, no, you know, she wouldn't do this. She's more stoic than this. So now she has more of an internal monologue where you'll hear her real thoughts and feelings, but really she's a bit more locked down to the world, you know. So she's kind of like a rock to crack, and yeah, so very kind of cold face and hard exterior, but a softer heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I really enjoy writing Orca. She is great fun to write.
Yeah, and some of the characters that you wrote, I think we can agree, me and also the readers of your books can agree that you wrote some really despicable villains. Is it hard getting into the mind of these villains?
Well, I look at characters that I hope that I strive not to write two-dimensional characters, and especially not two-dimensional villains. So I approach all my characters with the idea that, you know, they're all the hero of their own story, or so they think they are anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean and I hope that you can understand that there's a rationale to the choices that they make, even if they're bad choices or despicable choices. That you can understand, you know, that what they're doing is actually, there's a rationale and a logic behind them, which is either true to their psychology or to the circumstances they're in. So even for people like, you know, Lycos and Wraith, and I think he's particularly disliked, I think, in the Bloodsworn Saga.
Yeah.
Characters like that. You know, I hope you can see that they're kind of the reason, so it makes them feel a little more human. And I try to write them so that you do see more than one side of them as well. So you see, you know, they're more rounded than just being villainous.
Okay, just hearing the name Lycos kind of brought me the nightmare that he did again.
He was a lot of fun to write as well.
He is awful, John. But yeah, that's the sign of you writing great characters, really.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're still young, Ed. You're still young. Iris helped me find my smile too, and I agree, Philip. I totally agree with this. And this is a good question. Oh, this is John just answered about this earlier, by the way. So basically, there are hints. So if you go back to the early part of this video, he has talked a bit about his next project in as much as possible anyway. So you can check that out. Okay. And this is from a John Gwynne newbie. Despite owning multiple ebooks and the set from the Broken Binding of Blood and Bone, my question is recommended reading order. Do you have one? Is there one? Do you want to answer this, John?
Sure. Well, you can either start with Malice, which is book one of the Faithful and the Fallen, and then go on to the sequel series, which is of Blood and Bone, starting with the Time of Dread, or you can start with the Shadow of the Gods. It doesn't really matter because the Bloodsworn Saga is not related at all to the world of the Faithful and the Fallen. So you can really, I'd say whatever. I mean, I'm a bit of a mood reader at the moment, so if that's what works for you, then it will depend on what mood you're in. If you fancy, you know, a Viking revenge tale with dragons and giant wolves, then try the Bloodsworn Saga. If you want something that feels a bit more kind of epic in scope, really, and with animal companions and a larger cast. They both got large casts, but Faith and the Fallen has got the largest cast. Then that might be more up your street. More of a kind of classic epic fantasy tale, I think, than the Bloodsworn Saga. So really, yeah, it depends what your mood is.
Yeah, true. Basically, I agree with John. You can start either from Malice or really from the Shadow of the Gods. You cannot go wrong with either of them. It depends on your reading with. And, you know, speaking of big battles, you must be writing some really big battles in the Fury of the Gods. So your experience as a Viking reenactor, I think they must have played a lot of parts, right, in your writing battle scenes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I hope it gives, you know, a layer of authenticity to the battle scenes, because there's things that you do when you're you're doing Viking reenactment, which is a lot of fun, by the way. I do it with my 3 boys have all done it with me, so we've all on the coats of we've all put on the coat of mail, lifted the shield, held the spear, and stood in the shield wall together, which is a really fabulous feeling. It's amazing. But there's details from doing that I wouldn't have realised as a writer. You know, like the weight of a coat of mail, and how when you put it on, you know, you feel it in your shoulders because the whole weight is pulling down. So, you know, you wear a belt just to kind of lift the weight, as you know, rather than any other reason. So, those little details, and how kind of the heaviest weapon is your shield. So you don't want to be walking around holding your shield in a raised position until you have to. You know, you'll rest, or he will have it over your back for as long as he can.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, there's 101 small details like that I would never have known about if I hadn't have done Viking reenactment. And then, of course, you know, you get taught. I mean, they take it quite seriously at the Viking Reenactment Club, the Vikings UK. They try to replicate combat as it would have been, you know, in the 9th, 10th century in the Viking world. We can never know 100% for sure how they did it, but you know, just taking all the clues from archaeology and from the source material and the texts, they try and get it as close as they can. So, you know, you learn different grips with your spear, you know, an overhand and underhand grip, and how to use the sword, from how to fight a duel with a, you know, shield and axe, how to use a long axe, which you think an axe is kind of a clumsy lower level weapon, but the long axe was kind of the most elite weapon in the Norse weaponry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you'll often see references to the greatest stories is of warriors wielding a long axe. For example, the Harald Hardrada's champion who held Stamford Bridge against Harold Godwinson's army for a while, and allowed Harald Hardrada to retreat and reform. So yeah, the long axe is a really elite level weapon. It takes a lot of skill and mastery to use. And so yeah, Viking reenactment really informed my writing.
How heavy is those shield? Is that the one behind your back?
Yep. There's one on the floor which has got
that's Bright Star,
right? Painted on it. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah, I mean they're quite heavy. I'm not sure what the weight would be, but if you hold it for 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to feel it, and your arms going to start to shake.
Oh wow! I never held those kind of shields, so I don't know. And this is a good one. I think we all have mentioned that the cover art of Bloodsworn Saga is epic. It is epic. And did you have an influence in making sure the cover art look like that with Marcus Sweeney, or is it all up to the publisher?
I've been very lucky with my publishers, both for the Faithful and the Fallen and for the Bloodsworn. So they've always involved me in very extensive conversations about cover art. And so yes, I mean, Ed and I have a running conversation where he thinks that he came up with the idea for the Shadow of the Gods.
Is it though?
I think I did. So it was probably a bit of both of us, yeah. Originally, the idea for the cover wasn't anything like what you see now with the dragon. There was another idea put forward.
What was it?
Yeah, it was a bit more kind of traditional fantasy, like a Norse shield, so I wanted to make kind of one of the things I wanted to make clear was that this wasn't the Faithful and the Fallen. So I didn't want, you know, just a weapon or a shield on the cover. Didn't want people to get confused that it was related. So and I wanted it to feel very Norse. One of the artists that actually really inspired my whole take on the Bloodsworn is a guy called Rasmus Berggren. Yeah, he's an amazing artist, and he's painted some really fabulous kind of fantastical Norse landscapes, and we took that kind of to my publishers, and they went away and came back with Marcus Winnie, who is obviously just knocked it out of the park. He's amazing.
Yeah. And I remember you just finished A Time of Courage back then, and then this came out, and it was so explosive, the reaction. I did the cover reveal, and I still remember that every cover reveal of Bloodsworn Saga, they're all very well received.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's funny thing, isn't it? Covers and in publishing, you never know how it's going to go down. But I love art. I've grown up. I'd always be buying the artistic books of Lord of the Rings, and I've always loved kind of seeing fantasy worlds brought to life in art. So I really appreciate a great cover. So I've really tried to help form things that will be memorable. But you never know how they're going to go down. It's the same with my writing. I don't know how it's going to be received, but it's just about, you get a gut feeling about if you feel like it's come out okay, or if it appeals to my sensibilities, and I just then I hope that if I like it, then other people will like it. That's what I hope. And with the artwork and the covers as well. And I mean, it's gone very well for the Bloodsworn Saga, and Marcus Winnie. It's all a team effort as well. There's so many people contributing.
Do you think Bloodsworn Saga compared to the Banished Land is more successful? I think probably because of social media, so I could be wrong, but I've been seeing so many surgeons of people's loving the hell out of Bloodsworn Saga.
I think it is, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, it's hard to tell for sure, but if you look at things like Goodreads and the Goodreads ratings, then Shadow of the Gods is my most highly rated book. Yeah.
Oh, so, already?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And Malice is number 2. Then it's the Faithful and the Fallen, and then Hunger of the Gods is kind of creeping up.
Wow, that's incredible. You deserve it, though.
Thank you.
And whoever thought of it, but this is between you and Ed. The cover of Shadow Gods is one of the best of all time. I agree. And this is a writing question from Emmanuel. One of my favorite parts of your books is how every book adds new POV characters without spoiling whether this happens in Fury. Is this a device you use consciously, or does it just happen?
So mostly it just happens. I didn't plan for 3 points of view in Shadow and 5 in Hunger. I just the way I approach writing is that I think of the rough arc of the story first, and then I think of, okay, who would it be interesting to see this story from? Whose eyes would it be most interesting to see this story through? And that's kind of how I work out my characters then, on how many characters. And then I got to Hunger, and I had these other scenes that I could see in my head, and I knew that it wouldn't be right to see them through Orca, Varg, or Elvar's eyes, and so that's where Guthvar and Bjorn came from. And obviously they were side characters in the first book, and I also with the Faithful and the Fallen, I a lot of the reason why there's a lot of characters is because I try and show the conflict from all sides, so that you don't just see it from the traditionally good guys side, but you see it from everybody's point of view. And I realised in Shadow that I didn't really have that. And that's something I wanted to address in Hunger. So that's why Guthvar and Bjorn became the obvious choices, both to see certain scenes that I wanted to be told, and also just to give that balance of both sides of the conflict.
Yeah, and the way you write Guthvar, I think many have mentioned it, it's kind of reminiscent of Glokta from the first one.
I love Glokta. He's just an amazing character, and Jezzel.
Jezzel.
There might be a little influence or inspiration from those two in Guthvar's inner squirming monologue.
Yeah. He's so narcissistic.
But I love Joe's writing. He's an amazing writer.
Yeah, I think when I talk about this with my fellow friends, my fellow booktubers, when we talk about the actions, it's really always the two of you at the top, you and also Joe Abercrombie, when it comes to close quarter combat scenes. And I think you two are really the best at that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's a great honor. Thank you. So I think Joe's magnificent at writing characters and combat.
Yeah. And John Gwynne, you really inspired me, and I think very often on your books also about like, oh yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, this person, I remember that he started reading your book Malice, and then he binged through all of them, all your books. Amazing stuff, really.
Yeah, I think I owe you a lot, Patrick.
Yeah, nah, not really. I'm just happy to see that you are so much more successful now, John. I mean, back then you were already successful, but now you are so much more, and I think you deserve it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and Goodva Games gave me the sick, the snot friend. Oh my god, you must have a lot of fun writing him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you try and come up with little kind of quirky habits so that characters will be memorable, and yeah, that unfortunately Goodfar got the dripping nose.
The dripping nose. Oh my god, so hilarious. And then the rest is really praising your cover, the cover art of Bloodsworn. So yeah, that's really awesome. And also, you have written now 10 books, John. And what do you think
Yeah.
if this is, I know this is a very difficult question, but do you think The Fury of the Gods is your best among all of them?
Oh, I mean, that's impossible to say. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't say that. I don't know. I think, like I said, it's early days. It felt like it came out well to me. It felt when I wrote it, as I said, I wrote it quite intensely and quickly, and it felt cathartic. But most of my writing it's really, there's no kind of science or template. It's more about gut feelings, and it felt like it. The important scenes came out well. I think there's some twists in there that you won't have seen coming. I hope. But also kind of that balance of, it's nice for things to happen that you do feel should happen. So it's trying to get that balance right, where you can put some things in the mix that are fresh and do take the reader by surprise, but also, there's an air of this should happen, and it does. So it's trying to get that. It's always about trying to get that balance right. But it feels like it came out well for a third book. I hope that you always want a third book to feel satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm rereading Bloodsworn Saga right now, right? And something that I probably didn't really notice is that this is kind of like, let's say, a post Ragnarok Norse mythology, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Ragnarok was I've got a picture of it up on my wall. Johan Egerkrans, an image of Ragnarok. It was the first inspirations for the Bloodsworn Saga were Beowulf and Ragnarok. Those were the two main things I had in my mind when I thought I want to write something Norse. I wanted it to be inspired. It's inspired by Beowulf, the mercenary band, kind of monster hunters, and this cataclysmic end of days battle at the end with gods and giant monsters and wolves and serpents and dragons and those were big influences for the series.
Yeah. And do you think like games like God of War and all that play a part in influencing Bloodsworn Saga as well?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I think there was a line, right? Do not be sorry, be better. Did you use that? Yeah, I knew it.
that was a tip of the hat to Kratos. Yeah, I thought, I think Orca's got a lot in common with Kratos. To be honest.
Yeah, she does.
I used to be a gamer, but I stopped gaming for a long time. And Ed and Will really encouraged me to have a go at God of War. And I think I'd written most of Shadow before I played it, but I hadn't quite finished. And they kind of encouraged me to have a go, and I just fell in love with that game. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It is an
Loved it.
amazing game. I
Yeah,
love it so much.
yeah. Kratos is what a character. Just fantastic.
Now that you mentioned that Orca is so similar to Kratos, I think I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
And she's
But
so
they're both very
protective.
stoic.
And she's so protective of her family as well, just like Kratos.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a bit of my wife Caroline in Orca as well, which fortunately not the axe wielding part, but
Oh, okay.
just that kind of that fierce motherly protection. Yeah.
Yeah. And with this, I think we can all agree now that, well, you have really wrote a lot of books. And I think with how many days now? 4 days? Is it 4 days, right? Wow.
Yes, I'm starting to lose track. It's been a bit of a blur the last few days, but yeah, it comes out on the 22nd.
Yeah. So The Fury of the Gods, for those of you who don't know, will come out on the 22nd in the UK, and also in the US. Is it the same?
Yep, same day for the UK and the US. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the same date, 22nd of October. So if you haven't pre-ordered that, or you want to wait, well, make sure to do it. Pre-order first, okay? And I think the book is available already, right, in several bookstores.
I think it's out. Some bookstores, Barnes and Noble, have released it a little bit early in the States. Yeah. In the UK, it won't be coming out till the 22nd.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about this, John? 10th book now.
It blows me away, really, Patrick. I don't know how I got. It's lovely though. It's wonderful, doing what you love. So I know I started writing Malice as a hobby.
You started writing, I think, because you, Ed and Will push you, right? Or is it Caroline?
It was Caroline was the really we So the story behind that was I used to be a teacher at university, and Caroline had a kind of an antiques vintage furniture business going at home, so that she could work from home and look after Harriet. Harriet was disabled, and there was a kind of a period where Harriet was really unwell. So I took some time off of uni to be at home and help, and it just that period grew longer and longer. I got to a point where I realised I wasn't going to be going back to work at uni. I was helping Caroline with her business, but I'm not. You need to be quite practical for that, and I'm not very practical. I was a bit more academic, so I was saying, I think I could do with doing a hobby from home that keeps my brain engaged. And I remember it very clearly. It was 2002. We'd been to see the Two Towers, film 2 of the Lord of the Rings. And we come home and we're all really excited. We loved it. And so Caroline, Harriet, James, and Ed, and Will was just a little baby then.
Oh.
And we're sitting around the table, and I said again, I need to come up with a hobby I can do from home. And Caroline said, "Why don't you try writing a book?" I think she said it because I used to tell like stories to the boys and stories to her sometimes, read bedtime stories to the boys. And I said, don't be silly. I couldn't write a book. I have no idea how to go about writing a book. I don't have the skill set. And she said, I think you should try. And then James and Ed were like, go on, Dad, please, Dad, try writing a book. So I thought, okay, it might be fun. and that's literally where Malice started. That was the kind of the birth of Malice.
So it's always amazing to hear about this. I love it.
And that was my early 30s, I think, then. So I came to writing quite late, really. Then, of course, I sat down to try and write and thought, actually, I don't know how to do this. So what do I do? So I thought the only way I know how to write is how I learned at university. And I had a great lecturer, and his mantra was, to pass your degree, you need to read, and then you need to read, and then you need to read some more.
Oh.
And so I thought, I'll take that and I'll apply that to writing my novel. So I just threw myself into research, and my passions were mythology, fantasy, and history. So I threw myself into crafting a fantastical world that was made up of Celtic mythology and Iron Age history. And so that's why you've got Malice with, Welsh influenced worlds and names and kind of Roman influenced, with a bit of John Milton's Paradise Lost, with the war between angels and demons.
Yeah, John Milton. Yeah.
So that was how Malice came to be.
Someone call you Tolkien, John.
No, please, that's sacrilege.
You hear that? It's sacrilege. Also, this is kind of a funny question. I wish I could stick around and listen. I took next week off to read Food of the Gods. What kind of dog is Hundur?
The Hunda. The Hunda. So they're like bloodhounds. They're hounds. So they're scent dogs. Trackers. Yeah.
So good. Kind of do. Yeah, Blood and Bone is good. It's really good as well. The battle, I think the final battle there was one of the most epic battle I've ever read.
Thank you. Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's really big. The Humanities Academics are not famous for being practical, are we? Yeah, Philip is a teacher. Philip is a teacher as well. I have loved experience the point of the villains. Exactly. I agree. I very much agree. I think that's one of the things that I wish it's implemented a lot more in fantasy. Surprisingly, I don't know if you feel this, John, but not too many villains POV is explored in fantasy.
Yeah, no, that's true, actually. Yeah.
It is. And that's why I find it refreshing that your books always have that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Do you think the final battle, this is just to close this interview, the final question in the most non-spoiler free way possible? Do you think the final battle in the Fury of the Gods is bigger than A Time of Courage?
In a word, yes.
Ooh, see? Yeah. Now you all hear that, okay?
It felt bigger when I was writing it than A Time of Courage, yeah. I think it has more page time. Obviously, you've got bigger protagonists and antagonists. A giant wolf and a dragon and a giant rat, and obviously Snarker's on the cover, so that's not a spoiler.
Yeah. Oh, I was shocked when I saw that. I don't know why. I kind of expected Orna or maybe Rota will be on the front cover, but Snarker is there, and I think, wow.
It was always going to be Snarker.
I got Return of the King's vibes from it. Wow, really? Damn. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really a wrap on today's conversation with John Gwynne. And I just want to say thank you so much, John, for sparing some of your time to visit my channel. And remember, The Fury of the Gods will be out next week, in a few days from now, on the 22nd of October. So make sure to pre-order that, or if you want to wait, make sure to order that during the release date. And I want to say, really, good luck, John, with the new release of The Fury of the Gods. Many people have been waiting for this one.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, as always. It's great. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me on.
Hold on. Wonderful chat, guys. And yeah, likewise. Awesome, John. I will talk to you again really soon.
Sure thing. Thanks, Patrick. You take care. Thanks, everyone.